Welcome back to Sandown Raceway. We're preparing for a little Superbike action, round one of the Shell Oil Superbike National Series. A good-looking field here. Let's have a look at the top 10. Scott Doohan on the Peter Jackson Yamaha, a 1:44.97. Matthew Mladen on the Kawasaki, a 1:45.01. Followed then by Malcolm Campbell on the Winfield Honda. Then James Knight on the second of the Kawasaki's out of 5. Roy Leslie on the Ducati, the twin. From 6:20, Troy Corser on the Yamaha. From 7:08, it's Peter Guest on the Yamaha. From 9, Martin Craigle and the Kawasaki. Then Ben Archibald, one to watch, and rounding out the 10, Grant Hodson. And I guess one guy we'll all have to watch today is Matthew Mladen on the Kawasaki, who started off well, and Andy Raymond caught up with him just before they went out on the parade lap.
And after dominating the Superbikes earlier this year at Eastern Creek, Matthew Mladen comes to Sandown in his first ever round for Superbikes, and Matthew starting off front row must be a big buzz.
Yeah, you know, we went out there yesterday and we got everything together. You know, a little bit disappointed we couldn't get pole position for the first race of the year. But, you know, being on the front row is as good as being on pole position.
It's going to be pretty tough out there because the first 5 are only separated by 1 second.
Yeah, well, the first 5 by 1 second. I think the first 4 only separated by about 4/10 of a second. So it's going to be pretty close racing, I think.
Flag about ready to drop. And it's Matt Mladen who wins the start handsomely on the Kawasaki and will lead them down into the first turn. Mladen on number 45. Followed them through the first left-hander, keeping in mind 4 years. And a lot of these guys haven't ridden here at Sandown. Mladen's out to, you call a good Superbike lead at this stage. They come up to the left-hander and now prepare to hit the back straight for the first time. So I'd say our pole sitter, Scotty Doohan's got a fair amount of work to do. It'll be interesting to follow him on race cam through the pack. Mladen, though, is scorching away as they head up the hill for the first time.
Mladen on board the ZXR 750R, the sensation of last year. Aaron Slight won the Australian Superbike Championship aboard that bike, and it's back again for another taste this year. Matt Mladen still hasn't had his 20th birthday. I think it's 2 days away, so this will be a nice birthday present to win round 1 of the Shell Oil's Australian Superbike Championship.
He's a talented youngster.
He certainly
no
is.
mistake about that.
You're never in front by accident.
No, not at all.
No matter what form of competition.
We'll just sneak out over the track here with our new camera angle. They can go underneath us. Malcolm Campbell's got off to a good start. I can see Doohan back there in the pack, probably running about 5th or 6th. And his break over the field yesterday was sensational. Let's take our Eastern Creek AGP race cam. Scotty Doohan comes up on a whole group of riders here.
It's getting seasick. This is fantastic.
It's great stuff. Mark Woodley and John Joyster and all the race cam boys.
That rate of acceleration. We're back on to the main track, if you like, the approach. The right left-handers onto the straight. The fellas are going to lean them pretty heavily into the ground there. That knee's, hitting the curb. These fellas are brave, Michael. They've got my admiration.
Watch Doohan now work to the outside. There's the grandstand on the right on the front straight here at Sandown as he starts to rope them in.
I'd expect Doohan to cut his way through the traffic pretty effectively. He was fastest here in qualifying, fastest in the warm-up this morning. He's certainly been the guy on the pace all weekend. And after such a bad start, here he comes picking his way through the field.
Yeah, Doohan back to 7th spot. He makes a run at the pack. Peter Guest, who got out pretty smartly on the Yamaha, is up there, and they're not going to catch sight, I believe, of Matthew Mladen on the Kawasaki.
That's a nasty curve as they come out of that left-hander, Michael. If they get wide, they'll be in trouble. Here we go. Look at that. Look at it. Looks like Darth Vader in action. Fantastic.
Well, he's doing a good job, Alan. He's clearing them one at a time and doing all of it on the straight at this stage.
Coming up behind his 20-year-old teammate, Troy Corser, on the other Peter Jackson Yamaha. So he's making a lot of progress to the field in a very short time. That's what he's going to have to do. This is only a 6-lapper.
Yes, can't waste too much time. And just like the cars, these fellas want to take advantage of every little bit of slipstreaming they can. But by the look of it there, they're slipstreaming the gardener's job, Michael. They're taking a little bit of the grass off with their knees on the inside.
They certainly are.
Scott Doohan getting closer to Troy Corser.
Up to 5th now.
Superb looking Peter Jackson Yamaha OW01. A bike that's been in competition for a number of years now. It's still a very competitive machine.
Tell me what CCs that is, Mike. What are we looking at here, Mike?
This is a 750cc motorcycle. And most of the Japanese bikes run to this 165 kilogram weight limit. For the V-twins, which are similar like the Ducati, they run to 140 kilograms.
Here's Matthew Mladen turning up the amp as he gets away from the field. Out to a good lead at this stage.
Mladen,
look at that for a break. That's almost unbelievable in Superbike terms, but he did make a brilliant start. And some of the other guys fumbled at the start, and he was long gone.
Giving it the Greg Hansford touch here, Mike. All green colors. We know a good old pal who used to run one of these around.
This guy, as Mark said, turns 20 on Tuesday.
That'd be a real handicap, wouldn't it?
And you can expect big things. Aaron Slight, of course, who won the Superbike Championship last year for Kawasaki, is doing a spell with the World Superbike Championship this year, and that will bring on Mladen. If he can show the same consistency he showed at Eastern Creek and again here today, he will be hard to beat in the Shell Oil Series. That's out to 6 seconds. That's almost like a John Bowe lead.
Malcolm Campbell, you just saw there in second place aboard the Honda RC30, part of the new Winfield Super Team announced at the beginning of this year. Mal's been around Superbikes for a long, long time and has a very long list of achievements in this category as well. Shell Oil's Australian Superbike champion in 88, 89.
The only trouble is Wally Campbell won't give his age. Said he was born in the early 50s. We're not sure if the 1850s or the 19, but he's a lovely guy. And one meeting he'll be looking forward to with the bikes will be at Symonds Plains next Sunday, because
Hometown.
yes, he and John Bowe. Half distance now as we pick up on Scott Doohan. Making up a lot of ground. Looks like 14 has suffered a problem. 45 has got problems. That's Matt Mladen, our race leader. So, and he is just ambling back, is he? Waving them by, so he's got a problem. What terrible luck for Matthew Mladen.
Great disappointment for him. He had high hopes of getting the points up in this first Superbike race for the year. And obviously a mechanical hitch has slowed him down, so he'll be extremely disappointed when he gets back to the pits. Meanwhile, Mal Campbell is doing it again.
She gets out of there smartly.
Honda power, giving it a bit more than you have in your lawnmower. We can assure you of that. Hanging on, look at that knee touching the ground. Unbelievable. If I'm a bit uninitiated here to this close camera work. And these fellows are working their backsides off.
Malcolm's got a very good gap now. Just over 1 second.
Getting hounded by the Peter Jackson boys. Scott Doohan and Troy Corser. With the demise of Matt Mladen as we take the Eastern Creek race cam again. And a fabulous shot this. You really get a look at sort of angles on these bikes as they come out of the corners, and the tremendous acceleration. 140 horsepower plus these Superbikes develop.
Isn't that a great shot? Look at him working, trying to pick up Troy Corser before the top of the hill.
With his head tucked down behind the windshield to reduce the amount of wind resistance, get as much speed out of the bike as he can up the back straight.
How close is this for the finish of the race, though? We're a lap or so away from the finish.
I don't think there'll be any team orders amongst these two.
He's just trying to get Corser to see if he can get in behind and be able to beat Campbell to the line.
Unbelievable race cam pictures. This is a real bonus for the Honda. The RC30, I think, in its about 4th or 5th year of competition, a bike they thought was probably going to be a little uncompetitive, but Malcolm Campbell looking pretty sharp with this battle between the Peter Jackson teammates hiding up in the closing stages. This Foster's race cam's just staggering. Can't believe it.
Mladen's off the racetrack, as you can see. He has stopped over at the top part of the circuit. Bad luck indeed for young Matthew, but it is on for young and old. They'll take the last lap board this time around, and it's Malcolm Campbell riding for Winfield Honda, who will lead them past the pits. Corser still running there in the second, and right behind him is Scott Doohan carrying our Eastern Creek AGP race cam, and he is desperately trying to get past Corser, his teammate. No team orders, as you said. Last lap board is up. And Mal Campbell, the Tassie Tiger, leads them. How tight are they at the end of the front straight? Corser still holding second.
This is an amazing comeback by Corser. He was almost 2 seconds slower than Doohan in qualifying. So he's had a bit of a tweak on the bike since then.
Well, on the last lap down at Dandenong Road, Doohan got just up a little on the ripple strip. That unsettled him. He probably lost a bit of ground, but both, and he gets way up there again as he enters the back straight off Triple M. But they're certainly closing the gap to Campbell, but Wally doesn't have to do anything silly on this last lap. Superbike racing is just killer, isn't it? They are fabulous things.
They're good to watch, and no doubt we know the reason now as he goes down on the inside. Oh. It goes wide and opens the door up again, so Corsa goes back and takes second.
These things do understeer, do they?
They do.
I see.
And Scotty back down the inside under brakes.
Corsa won't give up. He's going to hang on to him right around the outside of the corner. Gives way. Tremendous ride from Troy Corsa.
In that tight hairpin left-hander at the end of the back straight. Doohan just had to get off the throttle for a minute because, as Alan pointed out, the bike was sliding in the wrong direction. Corsa gets back. They keep swapping. They keep closing the gap to the leader, Mal Campbell.
And Doohan's up there.
Gee, Mel's going to have him right on his doorstep when they come up to the finish line.
How do they ride those things on painted concrete?
I don't know how they do it.
It's an act of a master. Look at Corsa having another go back at Doohan. But Mal Campbell has done everything right in this one. Got off the line brilliantly on the Honda. He'll come past the pit turn. Crowd in the grandstand and just really loving all of this as the checkered flag comes out, and it's going to be Malcolm Campbell on the Winfield Honda across the line to beat Scott Doohan and Troy Corsa to the flag. Heat 1 of the Shell Oil Superbike Series from Sandown today, adding plenty of excitement, and bad luck for Matthew Mladen, who looked to had the whole thing sewn up only for his bike to quit up at the top end of the circuit. Checking them out for you on our Shell race score: Malcolm Campbell, the race winner, Scott Doohan in second, Troy Corsa third, James Knight finished in fourth, and Grant Hodson was fifth.
Sandown and 7 Sports coverage of Heat 2 of the Shell Oil's Australian Road Racing Championship, and I can assure you this is going to be a fabulous race on this lengthened Sandown course. Let's take a look at the way they'll line up. It's the finishing order of that earlier heat. Malcolm Campbell has pole position on the Honda from Scott Doohan on the Peter Jackson Yamaha. Troy Corsa in third position on bike 20. James Knight, the first boy in there for Kawasaki, on bike number 1, and Roy Leslie flying the Euro flag with the Ducati in 5th. Grant Hodson from Melbourne in 6th on position 7. We've got Peter Guest. Position 8, it's Chris Hill, former motocrosser. From 9, it's 11, Andrew Roberts, and 10, it's 71, Fred Baines. Good ride from Grant Hodson earlier on. Guy that hurt himself in England just on 12 months ago. It's his first ride this weekend. It's a bog stock bike with a 4-into-1 exhaust system on it, and he's managed to get himself further up the order, finished in 6th. We'll look forward to good things from Grant in this heat. It's Malcolm Campbell, veteran superbike rider, Winfield Honda Racing. Very experienced team with Mick Smith at the helm. And this bloke on the right, number 45, Matthew Mladen. Disappointment for him in the opening heat. A problem with the Kawasaki, but a very fast young man. 19 years of age. I'm sure the boys have mentioned the talent that this bloke's got. Hopes to do World Superbike Championship next year, and then hopefully 500cc Grand Prix racing the year after.
Here we go.
And we have a race start. Mladen gets a boomer. Knight goes with him, so it's Kawasaki 1 and 2 as they head down towards turn 1, and it's Mladen 45. James Knight gets pushed out a little wide, goes back to about 3rd position. Could be one of the Hondas mixed in there as well. We'll watch them sort themselves out.
Mladen will be pumped up now after dropping out of that first heat. Very disappointed. He had high hopes for this weekend, so maybe he'll make amends in this second heat.
Oh, and we've got one down.
It's gone down. It looks like one of the Pittman bikes. Yamaha Pittman's Douglas Pittman. Deary me.
The front end just washed away as he got into that left hand. There's probably a little bit of debris on the course, and you don't recover them. It looks like he's okay. Same can't be said for the Yamaha as they head off up the back straight now for the first time. They're in the braking area for this tight left-hander. The leader's through. Mladen's gone. Bike number 45. Look at the gap that he's opened up already.
And look at Hodson in second, the fellow you were just talking about, Neil. Fabulous ride from him amongst these factory bikes.
Take a replay now and see exactly what happened on this opening lap at the 3rd corner. Front end washes away from Pittman's Yamaha, and down he goes. I think the Yamaha might need a little attention after that, and his hands are a bit sore.
Well, we saw one of the Pittman Yamahas overheating on the starting grid, so they haven't had a good weekend. There he is. He's okay, with the bike looking quite deranged. Anyway, back at the front, Matthew Mladen aboard the Kawasaki ZXR 750R super machine, this thing. Most powerful bike in the superbike class, and certainly showing it on a power circuit like Sandown.
Look at Roy Leslie on the Duke, up into 2nd place, displacing Grant Hodson.
You can never put a Ducati down, Neil. You know that. You can't put a Ducati down.
Oh, those things were just stunning in last year's World Superbike Championship. So,
and the championship before that.
Foster's race cam tells the story. Look at the Superbikes blaze down this very long straight at Sandown in the braking area. Very bumpy down here. It would be hard on the bikes. Peeler off.
Look at the size of the rear tyres on these things. 140 horsepower spinning out the back of these. All the grip that they can get.
This is Doohan in position 3, I might add. Hodson's gone back another spot to 4th. James Knight behind him in 5th.
And there's Mal Campbell in 6th. So it's pretty tight at the front. A good mix of different bikes too.
Oh, and Leslie's got a problem.
Yep.
Hand went up.
Gives Doohan the way.
Yeah, so it's Mladen. Then Doohan in 2nd place.
Scott Doohan. Roy Leslie 3rd.
Very decent the way they do that, Neil. We don't see too many arms going up out of the car door.
Well, you
windows.
do, but some of the signs are not appropriate, are they?
No, they aren't.
Well, it looked like he had a problem there, but he's back on the pace as they come round into the infield section.
Yes. So he's retained his 3rd spot. Fabulous shot as Mladen goes through, followed by Doohan, Leslie, Knight, then Corsa. Winding through this infield section, which was originally constructed for the World Sports Car Championship cars back in the early 80s. Doohan once again gets up on that painted ripple strip, and you'd think that that was dangerous territory, but he comfortably handles it. And this is our race leader, Matthew Mladen. First met Matthew when he was a junior motocross rider on mini bikes. Pretty talented little bloke on the dirt, and he's carried the determination and the talent with him into road racing. Had a bit of a yak to him yesterday, and he's putting a lot of effort into his fitness, and Kawasaki are delighted with his performance. This team looked after by Peter Doyle.
Lead out to about 3.5 seconds, so he's certainly putting the pressure on the Yamahas.
Take our second angle of the Eastern Creek Foster's AGP race cam with Scott Doohan just flinging this thing from side to side. The commitment required to be able to ride the bike so hard is astonishing. And the engines and the gearboxes on these bikes just fabulous, aren't they?
You can't imagine tucking down under the screen there at something like 200 kilometres an hour with the engine revving that hard.
Half distance now, and an interesting battle for 3rd place. James Knight starting to make a bit of an impression on Roy Leslie. I could watch this race cam all day. It's fabulous. There's Leslie on the Ducati. Somewhere
in the region of about $80,000 worth, that Italian bike. So it's not the sort of thing you want to drop too often. And I think the only bike running in Superbike competition at the moment with engine telemetry system where they can monitor the bike's performance from the pits. Very advanced machine, and Neil said earlier, absolutely dominating the World Superbike Championship for the last couple of years.
Yeah, you can see the little aerial out the back, on the back seat, sending the radio signal back to the pits. Just about 6 inches tall. I guess I'm not supposed to say inches, am I, man?
Roy Leslie, hard at work. A temporary hiccup on the opening lap, or in the early stages at least. James Knight, Troy Corsa.
Mal Campbell there, I believe, on the Winfield machine. They're spacing out a little bit.
And obviously Grant Hodson's drifted a little bit from this leading bunch after a magnificent start.
And there's no doubt about it, Ducati is one of the sweetest looking bikes on the track.
Italian craftsmanship at its finest.
V-twin. Engine configuration, 888 cc, so it runs with a 140 kilogram weight limit, which will give it benefits as far as brakes and tyres are concerned. And there's number 1. This position filled by Aaron Slight last year, and his position as he goes and contests the World Superbike Championship this year for Kawasaki has been taken by James Knight. He's doing a terrific job as he sweeps past the Ducati.
James saying yesterday in the media conference that it's a guest ride for him at this stage, and he hopes to be able to stay with the team, do the best he can. He's certainly doing the right thing at the moment. Last year on Sports World, we featured a number of rounds of the World Superbike Championship. We now have 2 laps to go, and we saw how dominant the Ducatis were, as Mark suggested. Robbie Phillips from Australia, who was riding for Kawasaki, threw his level best at it, but it just wasn't enough. The Ducati was the power machine there. This is Troy Corsa, number 20.
Being closely followed by Mel Campbell as they hard on the brakes at the end of the back straight. There's Campbell very close under brakes on the Winfield Honda. 20-year-old Troy Corsa from Wollongong in New South Wales, professional motorcycle racer. And he won the 1990 Australian 250 Production Challenge. But he's got quite a challenge on here from Wally Campbell.
Great feature of our motorsport telecast for 92 is going to be the combination of touring cars and superbikes at a number of race meetings. Corser, incidentally, is 5th in proceedings with Campbell in 6th. So we're going to get to see these guys and their bikes perform in a variety of different circuits, and you'll notice that different packages will work better on different circuits. Mladen, the leader, under the Dunlop Bridge, and look, he's still absolutely committed. You can see the rear of the bike just hopping as he grabs the brakes. Stands the Kawasaki on its nose, coming round now to see the last lap board. Quick glance over his left shoulder, plenty of daylight behind him. Scotty Doohan in 2nd, James Knight 3rd, Roy Leslie 4th. Then it's Troy Corser, Malcolm Campbell tucked right in behind on the Honda.
Final lap as they go across the start-finish line in front of the grandstand. Hard work this, 6 laps around Sandown at these sort of speeds.
I had you could look at it two ways, either the fortune or the misfortune to ride Michael Dowson's superbike at Symonds Plains a few years ago, and I'm just astonished by how quick it was in a straight line and how hard it was to be able to turn the bike effectively. I'm no genius motorcycle rider, but with these enormous slicks and the way the bikes are set up, they're quite heavy to get from side to side. And the initial feeling for a Wombat like me is that it's just going to go straight ahead and spear off the road. But they're very impressive in the power and gearbox department, and Mladen through the left-hander at the end of the back straight now, and he's got a lead of just a tad under 3 seconds.
It reminds me a lot of Kevin Schwanz to see him on the track. He's a real acrobat on the bike. He leans this way and that, backwards and forwards.
Except he's not bouncing.
He's a long, tall, slender bloke, but he doesn't hit the tarmac very often.
I talked to him about riding in the World Superbike Championship next year, and I said, well, how do you reckon you'll go? You're going to be able to... Not a problem, he thought. Too many of the blokes that are contesting, and he said drink and smoke and don't take it seriously enough, and can't wait to get over there. So he's got lots of aggression and confidence.
Absolute commitment.
Roy Leslie making a last-minute lunge here, trying to regain some ground. If he just hadn't had that hiccup in the early stages, he might have been in a better position. This is the battle for 3rd and 4th.
Well, there goes the wheel up, Mladen full of confidence.
Matthew Mladen looking pretty cheeky as he stands the Kawasaki on its rear wheel in front of the enormous Sandown grandstand crowd. He takes heat 2 of the Shell Oils Road Racing Championship from Scotty Doohan in 2nd on bike 30. James Knight hung on for 3rd by the smallest of margins from Roy Leslie 4th. And a bit of a gap then back to Malcolm Campbell. I think Troy Corser was next. Shell Race Score confirms Matthew Mladen is the winner of Heat 2 on the Team Kawasaki Australia entry. A tremendous ride from Scotty Doohan. A similar gap back to James Knight in the 2nd of the Team Kawasaki entries. Roy Leslie doing it for the Euro boys in 4th position, bike number 38. And Malcolm Campbell rounds out the top 5, and the motor racing action continues after the break.